Today, Jupiter has entered into the 6th expression of Aries, proficiency. And today we're going to be covering the 26th degree of Aries, the first degree it's going into, a man possessed of more gifts than he can hold, and the 27th degree of Aries, which Jupiter will be going into in a few days. Lost opportunity regained in the imagination. So we just ended the expression of progression. And previous to that, we were in the expression of attainment. And as you can see, the pathway of evolution here is we first attain the ability to do something, and then through the progression of doing it on a habitual basis, we achieve proficiency. So proficiency is the expression that we're in right now, and if it might feel like a bit of a downer compared to the high of attainment and even the sort of honeymoon period of progression, because once you get into proficiency, you have to become proficient at every aspect of what you're doing. You now have to go back and see if there were steps you skipped along the way of your development, because if you're going to be doing something proficiently, then you need to be able to do it habitually under any circumstance. So it's a little bit harder than just being able to pull it off one or two times. With this first degree in the expression of proficiency, Aries 26, a man possessed of more gifts than he can hold. So we have sort of an embarrassment of riches. I see this, especially when contrasted with the next degree. What I'm seeing here is a man or a woman develops skills in the symbolic world of the intellect that society and humanity takes place in. The framework of society is symbols. We created symbols to help us move beyond our animal nature. There's things about being an animal that don't lend themselves well for what we're trying to achieve in society. And so at a young age, you learn you have to shut down certain impulses and instead adopt a symbolic belief system that keeps you able to exist in polite society, able to hold conversations with people without embarrassing yourself, essentially. And this greatly helps us. Creating this symbolic framework allows us to achieve things collaborating with others in a way that we wouldn't be able to achieve if we were acting from our base animal instincts. And so that's what I see with a man possessed of more gifts than he can hold. Aries is a sign that deals with ideas and things, the spark of ideas entering us, and it hasn't fully progressed to Taurus yet, where things become more embodied. So we're in this last expression of Aries where we've really mastered the formulation of ideas, and we've gained this proficiency in being able to operate in the world of ideas with others, and to exist in this high level of communication with others that involves respect and understanding and empathy, all these things that we've learned through studying philosophy and ethics and all these symbolic structures that we put on ourselves. And so we become a master of all these beautiful symbols that we've created, but these things are sort of artificial in a way that when we first entered the world of ideas, we might have had to deny instincts that were ingrained in our body. So that's why I see it as these gifts are more than the man can hold. He has all these brilliant gifts, but it's almost weighing him down because he's not in tune with his embodiment. He's not attuning himself. His mind with his ideas is not in attunement with his body. And so even though he spent so much time developing these great ideas, he doesn't have enough energy to hold them all. And I think a good example of this is, let's say there was someone who had social anxiety and they felt that having conversations was very draining, and it might date back to when they were a child. They would have to tense all their muscles when having a conversation for fear of saying something that would embarrass them or be ridiculed. And so as a child, they would sort of just tense their body up and use that to like restrict themselves. And then as an adult, even though they've completely learned the lesson of how to behave in a way that's not embarrassing, they still have that tendency to tense up and constrict their muscles in conversations. So now as an adult, even though they've mastered conversations and they might love the act of conversations, they still find it draining because they developed this coping mechanism that is now actually standing in their way of advancing further. Because to really utilize all the idea gifts, you need to be at your full energy. And so that leads us into the 27th degree of Aries, the second degree in the expression of proficiency, lost opportunity, regained in the imagination. And I see this as the lost opportunity is our animal self. It's the part of us that we had to deny to enter into this symbolic world. And while this symbolic world opened up so many gifts for us, so many intellectual gifts, like you could say like how a child is referred to as gifted if they have a high ability to interact in the world of symbols. But a lot of gifted children grow up, become adults, and they feel a lot of anxiety and depression because they haven't been, they sort of lost this ability to connect with their body. And what this degree is saying, that lost opportunity is regained in the imagination. And so the imagination is this wonderful ability that we have that we can access. And even though we cut off our animal self to enter the symbolic framework of society, we can reconnect with that animal self through the imagination and through play, and sort of hone in on the body and really imagine yourself feeling the body deeply. It's sort of like it's sort of like how there's a popular guided meditation technique of going through each part of the body and telling you to relax that part of the body, and how effective just telling yourself to relax that part of your body is to actually relax it. It's why hypnosis works. It's why the placebo effect works, even when people know that it's a placebo. The imagination can connect you to your body in a way that the symbolic mind cannot. It's been said that it's possible for humans to tap into the ability to feel individual cells in their body. It's been said that women, if they develop a really thorough connection to their body, can feel even when an egg inside of them is fertilized and new life is stirring inside of them. This is the level of sensitivity that people can attain, and this is something that in our society we've really lost because we're living in a world that's sort of like artifice on top of artifice on top of artifice on top of artifice, all with their different symbols and their customs and their courtesies and politeness and all the different masks that we have to wear to interact in those worlds. And what the Sabian symbols are saying is that's not a bad thing. Those are gifts, but in order to be able to physically hold them, to actually hold them in a proficient way, we have to go back and make sure our body has the foundation to handle all these gifts. And that's sort of what's going to happen in Taurus a lot more, as those physical foundations are going to be solidified more. And one of those is simply just learning how to relax and conserve your energy so that you're not spending it frantically ruminating on every little thing that comes your way, that you can sort of just be like, okay, that these things aren't too serious. I can be at rest. I don't have to be hyper vigilant. I'm just going to conserve my energy. And Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars rules the muscular system, and our muscles are something that can get a lot done for us, but we have to make sure we're not overworking them, and we have to make sure that we see that ideas have a physical component to them. And I think in proficiency is where you really see that, where implementing all these ideas does take a toll on you physically, even if it is just in like tensing your jaw or your neck or your shoulders. And make sure you're checking in on your body. And one way that you can really do that, which was talked about in the expression of progression that we were just in, Aries 24, open window and a net curtain blowing into a cornucopia. Using the power of breath to attune your body and mind. When your entire self is attuned and in alignment, then you're completely aligned with the goals of your higher self, the purpose of your life, and you're able to achieve what your greatest aspirations are. And that's what Jupiter really loves to do, and that's what we're trying to learn now, is how to really get to the point that we're achieving our highest aspirations.